Hey everyone, today we are going to talk about embracing fear and failure in business. Balancing building a successful business and being a superstar mom is hard, and yet in today's digital world, it's more common than ever.
The question becomes, how do we successfully grow a business and children at the same time?
Join us for a candid conversation as we share our insights into marketing and motherhood. I'm Angela Reeder.
And I'm Jessie Valle. Welcome to the Marketing Moms Podcast.
Hey everyone, we are so excited to have you with us today, and we are going to be talking about embracing fear and failure in business. And we are so excited because today we have some more pieces of our interviews with Marissa, Julie, and Kebrina. We had them on previously, so if you're interested in learning more about them and their backgrounds, you can go back and check out that episode and learn a little bit more about them. But today we are going to get their take on fear and failure in business.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because the one thing I want to say about them is that the three of them are at different stages in their business. Marissa is just beginning / kind of scared to make the leap to begin. Julie has been in business for a few years now. And then Kebrina's been in business like 10 years. So we have different stages. And it's interesting to hear different insights because when I look back, so Angela and I have been in business 7 years.
Yep.
And when I look back, I do know that I had different stages.
Yes.
Which actually, it was interesting. I saw something on Instagram this week that was all about how people talk about how, oh, you can be that person to, have it all, work little, and this and that. And it's like, no, there are actually going to be times of radical imbalance. And there are going to be
Yes.
times where you do feel balanced. And I know that you and I have actually spoken about that on past episodes on balance. And it's like, yes, you can have the life you want to have, but that doesn't mean it's going to be completely balanced all the time.
Right.
You're going to
Yes.
go through seasons of chaos, seasons of calm, and you're like, oh no, things are going too well. Something bad's about to happen.
Yes. And you'll have seasons where you will be focusing more on your family, focusing more on your business, focusing more on yourself. And that's sort of kind of our overall, when we think of balance, we don't think of it as granular day to day, everything gets equal attention.
Mm-hmm.
Just bringing kind of a harmony into things so that you don't feel like one thing is getting all of the attention to the detriment of other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess our interviews today kind of focus on the business aspect and advice for people who are kind of afraid of beginning and what fear looks like and what failure looks like. So without further ado, we're going to jump into Marissa's episode and see what she has to say on failure. So my question would be, what does failure look like in your eyes or in your head?
Not being able to financially provide for my family, not being able to provide the things that my son needs, or to be able to provide money to help my husband pay for the mortgage or the groceries or anything like that. Not being able to have the money to live our lives in the way we have been.
So it's not necessarily that you're afraid someone will say no. It's just that if everybody says no, then you don't make money, which hurts your family.
Yes.
So what if you asked 5 people, 4 of them said no, and 1 said yes, and that covered the money for your mortgage that month? Would that still be a failure?
No. It would be.
I was once told that if no one is saying no, then you're priced too low.
Okay, yeah. I think I've heard that too.
Jessie tells me that a lot.
I'm just like, trying to like also put myself back there when I was in the beginning, like terrified, like if somebody said no, that's me missing out on an opportunity to make money.
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes they would have been a terrible fit. It would have been a terrible project, and it would have been horrible on my psyche, which is not helping my family.
Right.
Yeah.
And somehow things always work out.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've been in a lot of Facebook groups where this question comes up of like, what would failure look like? Because so many people have that fear of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to fail. And I've noticed that especially with moms, it almost always comes down to that I'm not going to be able to provide for my family, or I'm somehow going to make things worse than they are. Whereas like women that aren't moms, and men especially, their failure always seems to look like something else. Like, nobody's going to say yes, or I'm going to, fall on my face and be embarrassed in front of my friends or something like that. But I've noticed that fear of the not providing is almost universally when I hear moms say. And that was mine too. When I started, somebody asked me like, well, what are you so afraid of? Like, well, I'm kind of really afraid we won't be able to pay our bills is what I'm really afraid. And they were like, it was a man. And he was like, that's ridiculous. Why would you be afraid of that?
What's not to be afraid of that?
Right? Like, who would be afraid of that?
This is going to sound really silly, but I saw this on Instagram a couple days ago, and it's going to stick with me for the rest of my life. It said, the crackhead never says, I don't have money, I'm not going to smoke today.
That's like, very true.
They find a way. And so it's like, okay, because I told another friend that, and she was like, be the crackhead. Like, you find a way. So like, even if you end up saying you're going to do this huge project and you're cutting yourself short, at least to make a little bit of money, so you have $2.50 to go buy a gallon of milk, you're going to do it. Especially when you're like on the line.
Yeah.
But also having realistic goals, right? Like when I started, I didn't say I wanted to cover my entire salary where I was. I said, okay, I'm going to start with my credit card bill, which has the groceries and stuff on it. It's about $1,500 a month, $1,000 to $1,500 a month. That's what I'm going to do first, because it didn't just have food. I'm not spending $1,500 on food, just so everybody's clear.
Okay.
I eat caviar. No, I'm just kidding. I've never had caviar.
That's your snack at night.
That's my snack, my midnight snack. But like, and it had other bills and stuff that I would just pile onto that one credit card. And so it's like, if I could just pay off that credit card each month, that was my goal. And then from there, I was able to grow and be like, hey, I actually have the hang of this and I can make more than that. Before I was like, I'm going to do this full time. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a job on the side to continue to earn money while you build. My fear is that you're going to use it as a crutch.
Right. And I feel like that as well. 'Cause that was kind of my thing. I could have worked on building this whole business through my maternity leave, but I didn't. And I was hoping that my current job would let me continue to work from home, but that didn't work out. So I went out and got a different job that will. But I'm not working on the copywriting business as much as I should. I do little bits here and there, editing my specs and trying to put all that together. It's just, I don't make time for it, and I need to.
Oh, we feel you. I mean, Angela and I don't make as much time for this podcast as we should. Or I take that back, as we would want to, as we would like.
Yeah.
Because we always put our own stuff on the back burner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm, having a newborn. Well, now he's not a newborn anymore. He's 3.5 months old. But he relies entirely on me for every single thing that he needs. So I'm exclusively breastfeeding, so that every 2 hours he's hungry. And so I'm sitting there not being able to do a lot. I could do more things while I'm breastfeeding. So what else am I going to do? I can't get up and walk around with him. I could be like listening to the podcasts that I'm backed up on for my like the copywriting podcast I listen to. I could be doing like working on a Google Doc with one hand for my spec pieces. I could be doing more, and I'm not, and it makes me upset at myself sometimes. I don't think about it a lot, but when I do, I get upset at myself for not putting more. I don't know. I honestly, I don't have an answer for you. Because
I would have ideas about why you might, but I think that might be something you need to sit with for a little bit. Next time you're feeding the baby, you need to sit there,
consider,
and think about, why am I not doing something else and utilizing this time?
Okay, I will think about it next. So
and I'm going to message you, and I'm going to find out what happened.
Yeah. Because like I said, I could be doing more, and I'm just not. And that's upsetting to say out loud.
It's not abnormal.
I know it's not. Just because it's not abnormal doesn't mean it doesn't make me upset, though.
That's true.
I really liked that last part of like,
yes,
just because it's not abnormal doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, right? Like,
right. Yeah. Just because it's not abnormal doesn't mean it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. I really think that Marissa's ideas of failure and fear of failure are 1000% normal and common, and so many feel that way.
Yeah. And I think we do see that reaction a little bit. And I know, like, obviously you and I are a little guilty of it because we've been in business for a while, but you do see that reaction a bit, especially online, where somebody says, I'm really afraid of, or I'm really worried about, or I'm really struggling with, and everyone says, oh, it's normal. It's fine. But like, it doesn't change the fact that you're feeling it or that you're experiencing it.
Or
and
even
especially when you're
how to tackle it.
Right. And especially when you're starting out, those feel really big. It's like I've told my teenagers sometimes, like, I know the things that are happening right now in middle school feel like they're huge, and they are to you. But eventually you're going to get out of school and away from people, and you're going to see there's like a big, huge world with lots of other experiences. But, you know, when you're starting out in a business, everything seems make or break. Every decision, every client feels make or break.
That's a really great way to say it. Yeah, for sure. And as a tiny update from Marissa, so I knew a copywriter that a seasoned copywriter that I connected Marissa to, and she was able to get kind of some guidance and from a mentor that she trusted and was seasoned and could give her feedback and help her kind of complete her very first tasks together for clients. And that was what she needed to get over the hurdle of just jumping in. So I'm really curious. We need to reach back out to Marissa and see how things are going on her own. But man, when she found out, she was so excited. She messaged me right away. And I was so very happy for her. So sometimes you just need to chat it out with someone and have a little push, whether it's, freelancing or something else. Sometimes an outside perspective is all you need to be like, here, let me just push you over that hurdle and let's dive right in. So that's what I kind of like about our next couple interview sections, because they are kind of giving advice for people like Marissa, like advice for people when they're first getting started. So without further ado, we're going to jump into Julie and what kind of ideas she has for people.
So what is kind of your number one fear you have when it comes to running your business?
I think, like, right now I'm by myself, it's just me. So if I fail, it's just a reflection on me. And if I can't provide or reach the goals that we've set for our family, then that's definitely a fear of mine. Failure is a huge fear of mine. So, and failing my family is like, please don't, I don't ever want to do that, you know?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a fear is I don't want to totally bomb this, or I don't want to have to try to like go back to square one and restructure our family all over again, you know, because you kind of do have to go to square one when you start this up and figure out, okay, is this going to work for our family? And then when you take the leap and you do it and you try it and you have some success, then it feels awesome. But when you have any sort of setback, then you question everything. Yeah. And, you know, you want to be able to, you want to be able to have success, not just for you, but especially as a mom, for your family, for your husband, for everything that you have set your goals to.
So what would you say to a mom who's afraid of like making a mistake or looking stupid when they're trying to start their business?
Those are definitely fears that I struggle with every single day, but just do it scared. Like, you're going to fail. You're probably going to look stupid at some point. We all do. So just get over it, because you're not alone in that boat. Like, we all have, we've all failed. We've all had to learn hard lessons. We've all done embarrassing things. We all have stuff on our quote record that maybe we're not exactly proud of, but you learn from it and you move on. And I will say that there is, like, for me, I need that moment to wallow. I need that moment to grieve, but then we pick ourselves up and we move on. Because I know, I don't think it, I know it, that my work has become so much better from learning the lessons that I've learned from failing. So you don't hope to fail, but I hope that there are some lessons that can be learned that just make you a better person or a better version of yourself.
I absolutely love how she said, you need a moment to wallow.
Yes, you need to take that time, wallow in everything, feel all the feelings.
Because a lot of people are like, just skip over it, pick yourself up, just go. And she's like, no, I need to sit with it for a minute. I need to let myself feel the feelings. I need to let myself wallow and then move on. And, you know, people have so much grace when it's a real huge tragedy in your life.
Yeah.
Like a death in the family or something really devastating happens. And what do you tell that person? It's okay to feel those feelings. Feel the feelings.
Yes.
It's okay. So if we tell those people it's okay to feel their feelings, why are we not telling people who make mistakes in business it's okay?
It's okay.
It's okay to wallow.
Mm-hmm.
But after you're done wallowing, you got to let it go.
Yeah. And we would tell our kids that if our kids did something and failed, we would tell them it's okay to feel this way, but, you know, get through your feelings, and then we're going to try again.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So let's see here. Our last interview, spotlight interview, was with Kebrina. And Kebrina, man, she is spunky. I love it.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, you'll soon learn. I mean, the things that she says are so valuable, so valuable. I mean, you can't help but have valuable information when you've been in business for 10 years, you know?
Yes. I think part of it, she's been in business longer than either of us, but also she's just a very insightful person. And she's very good at phrasing things, especially when she's speaking to moms in a way that really connects to your experiences.
For sure. Yes. And she's really good at reflection and how she can help use her own reflection and her own experiences to help other moms in their business journeys. So,
yeah.
Without further ado, let's chat with Kebrina. So what would you say to a mom who is afraid of making a mistake or looking stupid as they begin their
Oh God,
business?
fail fast, learn quick, get it over with. Especially when you have like 5 followers or 10 followers. Make the mistake quick. Nobody will see it. And you learn and you get it out of the way. So I went walking. I recently moved to Ottawa, and there was I moved. This is 1 year now, so this is like my first going into snow, all that, right? Like it's -3 this morning. I'm like, what? I'm from Toronto. It would be kind of warmer. Plus, with the environment, it's not
right.
This
You
cold,
think
right? Exactly. So it's kind of like, all right. I went walking and I saw this guy on the skis, and I'm like, I've never skied in my life. So I asked him, I'm like, okay, how do I ski without falling on my, sorry, language. So
it's fine. No.
Okay. So that was my first question, because I see it and I'm like, it looks fun, but it also, I'm on 2 little popsicle sticks. What the? And he's like, well, first of all, I want you to know you are going to fall on your own. You need to learn how to fall properly and how to get up. And I was like, makes sense. It is inevitable. And if you know there's a possibility that you are going to fail, if this is a fear, right? And we are human beings, it is a possibility. As I said, it's 50-50. If you know there's a possibility, why not research the ways how you could fail and then counteract that? And you can't think of all the possibilities. That's craziness. Like, you will drive yourself up a wall like, oh my gosh, all the ways I'm gonna fail. So I'm like, okay, what do you need right now to succeed? Mm-hmm. What does success look like to you? Because success for some people, it's different from others. Like before I started my own business, I was in corporate. So success looked like quarterly figures being hit. Like, these are your numbers that you have to hit, right? But as a mom, for me, a day without, a week without catching a cold, that's successful for me. Right?
Yes.
Financially, I have my numbers that I need to cover, and I make sure that those, the essentials are taken care of, right? So it's just like road mapping success, and success in the fourth quarter is not going to be the same success for the first quarter, right? So it's not knowing your benchmarks and setting realistic goals. You know me already. I love talking about SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So once you set those up and you are being realistic, not just by societal standards, but by your in-home standards, what does success look like? Then if that's what I want, and if I'm afraid that I'm not going to succeed, then how can I tip the scales in my favor so that I get closer to it? And knowing the fact that, you know what, I could fail, having that in the back of my head, well, okay, what am I going to do not to fail? And if I fail, okay, what's the last reboot point, right? That's why I always say document the journey. Because if you try something new, you implement a new marketing strategy and it doesn't work, okay, what was the last point where it was working for me? And then try a different route. Not, I tried something new, didn't work. That's it. Scrap it. I'm not doing this anymore. I knew it. I was going to fail and I failed. Well, if you thought you were going to fail and this is how you could have failed and you did nothing, you accepted that. And the fact that you're willing to throw out the towel right after that first adversity, did you really want it? Or you were just, and it's okay that, you weren't 100% in it. You were just testing out an idea. That is also okay. But don't beat yourself up for not going 100% when you only gave 20%. And you're like, oh, I was expecting this. But did you put in that much? Like, did you do everything possible to tip the scales in your favor? And a lot of times we do our best, excuse me, and it doesn't work out. And that is okay. That is a part of life. Not everything is going to go your way 100% of the time, right? And it's just like the acceptance of that, but understanding that we're not going to stay there. And we talk about the resiliency in our kids all the time. Well, guess what? They learned it from somewhere. And we're with them all the time. So they learned it from us.
I love that like concept of imagining that things are like a video game almost. You hit that save spot and you can keep going, and especially video games these days, you can die a bazillion times and you have unlimited lives, right? And you just go back to that same spot and you try something else and you die and you go back and you go and it's over and over again, but you start from a point that you knew prior to that you were successful.
Exactly.
So then it's okay to try different things and fail and go back to where you were and try a different method. It doesn't mean, oh, I died. I'm never going to beat this video game.
Yep. Let me just throw this PS5 outside.
I know, right?
Just start back from the beginning.
Forget it.
Let me go get a Nintendo. I know a Nintendo. I'm comfortable with that. Let me blow in the cartridge a few times and put it back in.
A little bit.
These kids are like, what are you talking about?
I know, right? You just don't. You know, if you know, you know.
I'm like, back in my day, we didn't have the option to go back to this point. We had to start all over.
Right? Unless you have that like special Konami code where you're like, get 30 lives. But even then, it's still limited.
Exactly. It's 30 lives are over. That's it.
Man, I had so much fun talking to her.
I did. I had almost forgotten about the video game conversation, and listening to it again made me think of, I introduced one of my kids to Oregon Trail.
Oh boy.
And
that's really dating us.
About that. Like, yes, I am. I'm totally dating myself, but Oregon Trail, and I was thinking about that, like the whole game, you know, and my daughter's trying to play it and she's like, is the whole point just that everyone dies? Like, is that? I was like, mostly. Yeah, that's, you have to keep trying. You have to keep trying new things, you know, more food, less oxen, all the stuff, and to get there. But then when you get there, that was like a big thing. Like, people would talk, I got all the way there.
Yeah. It's so funny. My husband and I talk sometimes because, you know, we both had Nintendo systems when we were little, and we were talking about like, how many of the games have you actually beaten?
Right.
I could only name like 2.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even me. It was like my parents, because like back in the day, what did my parents do when the kids went to bed? They'd sit there and play video games. Yeah. It was so funny. Another thing that she talked about was her experience talking to the guy with the skis. Like, how do I make sure I don't fall?
You don't.
First of all, you got to accept that you're going to fall.
Yeah.
But the key is to learn how to fall properly and how to get back up. And I was just like, wow, like, kind of like when she was saying that she had the epiphany, like I had it too. I was just like, you're right. Like, it's not a matter of how do I avoid this? It's how do I manage it when it happens?
Yes.
It also reminds me of a company I know that tried to launch their software 6 times before it finally took off.
Whew.
Can you imagine if they had given up after number 5?
Right.
After number 2? And they're very successful today. So it's like, wow, like sometimes you just got to make those tweaks and you got to keep going till you find something that works. If it truly means that much to you, you will find a way. You will get back up. You will keep trying. And I think Kebrina said that too. Like, if you quit after the first time, did you really want it in the first place?
Right.
So,
yeah, I think it's important in business, especially, to realize that there's going to be mistakes and failures along the way. And we don't see that a lot when people talk about their success, or you see the like overnight success stories. You know, they're not, you don't see the like, oh, they failed and failed and failed and failed, and then they found the thing that works and now they're famous. Like,
yeah,
you just see the famous part.
Yeah. I actually saw something the other day that Bobby Flay, who's, you know, this world famous chef, his very first job was at a Brahms. I'm like, dude, if Bobby Flay can start his career
Right?
at a Brahms, anybody
Yeah.
can do anything.
You can do anything.
You can do anything.
I saw a quote the other day. I have no idea who said it. I think I saw it on TikTok. But it said, if a thing is humanly possible, you can do it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't say that it's not going to be hard. Like,
right. Yeah. It's not that it's not going to be hard.
It's going to be hard.
But yeah, I thought that was really cool.
So I feel like your next steps are really going to be sitting down, thinking about what you want, thinking about where you want to go, especially here in the new year. I know it's on everybody's mind how they want the year to pan out. But I don't want you to just think about the year, right? Like, I just want you to think about this season. Where do you want to go this season? Whether that season is a month, whether it's 3 months, whether it is the full year, whether it's the next 5 years. Where do you see where you want to go, and what kind of steps can you break that down into to think, okay, well, if I made this one change today, it would lead me in that direction. And it doesn't have to be huge.
No, little steps can make a surprisingly big difference.
Yeah.
Ask anyone who does design or copywriting.
For sure. Anyway, man, I'm so inspired after those interviews.
Right?
So good. Next week, we're bringing the 3 of them back for a really fun episode that's a little less intense.
Yes.
So be sure to join us next week. And if you would like to hear more from us, go ahead and head over to marketingmomspodcast.com and sign up so that we can continue the conversation over there. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us today. We're so honored this is where you chose to spend your time.
If this episode helped you in some way, please share it with another mom who needs to hear it. We're in this together.
And if you're ready for next steps, free goodies, and more, head over to marketingmomspodcast.com.
We'll see you next week.